morning or good afternoon. In this video, I'm going to talk about the number one reason, or really the number one key to having lasting change in your life. But before we get down to this conversation in nitty-gritty, hit the like and subscribe button. And let's get it cracking. Now, I am driving, so I won't be looking at the cell phone too much, just talking. But as I was doing an exercise today in one of my classrooms, I was talking with the students about how do you take a field full of weeds and transition it to a field full of beautiful flowers. And for both classes, especially in the university, I was very surprised. They had a lot of interesting answers. Some people said that you need to take out the weeds. You need to be consistent in the maintenance of the weeds. They had, you need sun, you need to maintain your environment, all of it. And I was very excited to see that their brains were working in the right direction. And then I started bringing up music and things on TV. And don't get me wrong, I'm not too far removed from listening to music that has words that I don't say, or watching things, as far as TV shows or movies that, it just provides entertainment. It doesn't it doesn't provide anything that I can take from it. Now, there are some movies that, are motivational stuff. But I want you to think about your life and where you're trying to go. Now, I teach communications at the university, and for the most part, they want to speak clear in public. They want to speak more confident. And I don't know if you've been in a situation, but as you start to get older, you start to realize pretty quickly that just going to school and writing notes, that's only part of the equation of actually upgrading your version of yourself. And as we're talking about the garden, one of the biggest things that you start to see when you're transitioning from weeds into making a beautiful garden is cultivation. And many times we don't even understand that whatever's in us is what we produce. Whatever we've been cultivating, whether we unconsciously or consciously know it, that's what we're producing. In Genesis, God talks about He put man in the garden to cultivate it and to keep it. Like, you just can't cultivate it, but you have to maintain it. But also in Romans, it talks about that do not be conformed. Do not fashion yourself with the world of its authority, even though we're in the world, right? But be transformed by the renewing of your mind, which should be daily. So what is the reason why we as individuals don't have lasting success? One word: input. And it's two ways that input happen for anybody: what you see and what you hear. The things that you'll constantly, repetitiously listen to, watch, is actually feeding your faith. When I listened to R&B music, it gave me a certain emotion. When I listened to hardcore rap music, it gave me a certain emotion. And something is continually communicating to us whether we perceive it or not. If you watch a movie with violence and certain things, it's communicating to you in a certain spirit, just like music. We cannot continue to think that just because we input this and we watch it and we hear it, that we're not going to produce fruit from that. There's going to be something you produce, and it may not be fruit, maybe weeds. Weeds to a beautiful garden. And before there's 4 stages of learning. The first stage is going to be, I don't know. The second stage is going to be you start gathering knowledge, start gathering facts. And the third is going to be you start piecing it in between the gaps and you start to gain understanding. And then lastly is that you have application, you have the mastery without any overexertion of mental energy, that's wisdom. And between I don't know and the knowledge, you're going to figure out that more than likely you have to start becoming aware of some things that are holding you back. It can be people, it can be environments, it can be how you were raised, it can be things that you're self-inflicted. And only you can answer those questions. Only you can self-diagnose what weeds are preventing your garden from fully blooming into the beautifulness that's supposed to. And it takes a while. I used to be confused about transformation, becoming, but you don't transform outside of the image or the identity of who you see yourself. And whatever you are doing consistently, day in, day out, that's being subconsciously built, it's ETA. Whatever is driving your emotions, which is driving your thoughts, which is driving your actions, consistently is going to build a belief system that is shaped by who you identify as. And you're going to operate at that operating system. You can't operate outside of who you identify yourself as. Inputs. What you're inputting, what are you doing daily, behaviors or habits consistently is going to shape your output. So the encouragement and the recommendation is always going to be the same. Remember, read the Bible. Learn God's laws, His precepts. Be teachable. You start inputting, seeking His kingdom, seeking His righteousness. You don't have to chase success. Success will become your byproduct. And remember, success is gauged not against other people. You're not in competition. But remember, just like God gave Adam a purpose, God has already predestined a purpose for you. He's already predestined what your purpose is. That's your gauge. Am I walking in what God had me to do on this earth? And if you are, and you're doing it as if God wants you to, then you're a success. Remember, no matter if you write what your output, what you want that to be, if you don't change what's going in you, you will never become the person you're meant to be. Until then, talk to you soon.